What's up everybody, I hope you're having an amazing day so far. My name is Phil and today's video we're going to check out an awesome collaboration between AuroraDSP and ThisHeavyEarth effect, which is going to bring you some awesome death metal tones, FLESHROT. Thank you everybody for tuning in to today's video, highly appreciated. FLESHROT is the brainchild of ThisHeavyEarth effects in collaboration with AuroraDSP as basically the main coders behind the plugin. Now, you might have seen already the NAMM videos from this year where ThisHeavyEarth effects and AuroraDSP together had a booth. And you could try out the FLESHROT plugin over there as well. And everybody who was actually trying out the plugin was kind of being fooled by that they're actually now playing through a plugin instead of the real deal. So it really sounds absolutely amazing and I'm all in for it and super excited to showcase what the plugin is capable of today. I do want to let you know that AuroraDSP is actually sponsoring this video. They are paying me in order to showcase the plugin to you, so please take everything which I say with a grain of salt, but the results are speaking for themselves, and in the end, I would have demoed this plugin anyways because I was really excited for it since the first time I heard of it, because I always wanted to check out ThisHeavyEarth effect stuff, never got to do so. Now I'm super glad that I'm finally, in the boat for these things and I can check it out. So let's dive straight into the Reaper session where I got everything opened so we can check out the plugin. I personally think that the tones which we heard are pretty cool and already kind of give you the bass direction in which this plugin is running through. Let's still take a look at the graphical user interface before we then dive into all the different tonal characteristics. We got over here what I would be calling the management section. So you have all of the preset management where you can save, delete, manage your presets. Then over here you got the input and the output bar. And then we have mono to stereo, MIDI map, and the tuner over here, which I'm not going to showcase, but it really works. Speaking of the input and the output bar before, what is pretty cool is that you have these small markers, so it kind of gives you the optimal range in which you should place your input so that it's hitting the amplifier in the right way. And we can see over here that I am at all times within those specific markers for input output. So that's pretty cool that we already know on the get-go that we are hitting the amp with the necessary input volume guitar wise. Down below, you can select between the pedals, the EQ, the amplifier, the cabinet, and so on and so forth. But on the left side, we got the input stage, so where we can set the input gain, the gate threshold, as well as the transpose functionality, which we're going to check out in a moment, as well as then on the right side, the output, which we can set up, and on the amp specifically, we can set over here front and back as well. What that's all about, we're going to explore as we dive into the amp module. And down below over here in the center, you can choose between different blocks of the signal chain. So we got the amp block currently highlighted, but we also have some pedals before the amplifier where we have like a full scale pedal board going on. We got the cabinet section, which is pretty extensive. Then we have an EQ section, which is now looking a little bit bare bones, but as you double click over here, you can change stuff and then have that deleted, deactivated, and so on and so forth. And last but not least, we have the post-amp effects such as delay, modulation and reverb and stuff like that. Let's check out first the amp module, but first I'm going to showcase what the default preset is sounding like. Please mind that we do have a few pedals going on engaged before. I'm going to leave it as it is right now. The cabinet stuff I'm also going to leave untouched. So we're just going to kind of find out what the amplifier does in the context of this preset. We first got obviously the gain knob over here. Not fully sure if we can actually get a true clean tone. I'm going to disable the pedal section. You can kind of get there, but yeah, it's definitely meant to do full-blown metal. So back the pedals go on, and we're going to set the gain kind of where it was before. On the 3-band EQ, we got high, mid, and low. They do behave a little bit different than you would eventually expect because they're not going into the very extremes. Let me demonstrate on the high and the low how they still kind of keep everything in check and remain balanced even if we crank them up. So it's all kind of very narrow frequency-wise, and it's not going into the very extreme territories where it's getting super sizzly or super muddy, which I really like a lot about this plugin. I like to keep them somewhere around the ballpark of 7.0, and then shift the mids over here. Yeah, and here you can clearly hear that you can control the scoop, so it's not actually boosting up the mids over the top, but it's actually just controlling how much scoop do you want to have. It also basically says flat on this side and scoop on the other side, so I assume that this is actually what is happening on this particular knob over here. When you want to have like all of that sizzly top end, that's where the presence comes in. Or you can have it a little bit more muffled. I like to actually keep it very much at where it was before, and then you're getting like a good balanced tone. Shift basically, I wouldn't say shifts the mids, I wouldn't go as far as to say that, but it kind of, you know, changes how the mids react in the mix. I think Christian Kohle would say something like the throaty mids, like wah wah or something. So that's kind of what's happening over here when you dial up the shift a little bit more, and tight basically cuts out the low end. Bringing them all in is not what I'm after. I do like a little bit more of tightness going on, but round about that ballpark. Really cool stuff which you can set up. I think it's kind of a one-trick pony for what I am doing over here, but it's doing that trick pretty well. We got over here the possibility to deactivate the standby, so that we only get the power amp section, which you can access via clicking over here. So now you have the as above, so below pedal integrated, which is kind of a presence resonance thing going on in pedal format, integrated into this amplifier over here. Let's check it out. I could easily play a little bit around with that. For example, just bumping up the below a bit more and then above a little bit back. So we're getting like a super nicely scooped metal tone out of this one. Yeah, so this is the amplifier section in itself. Let's move over to the pedal section. The pedal board is quite extensive because we not only got the spectral gate over here, but we have in total 4 different distortion, fuzz, overdrive, whatever you want to call them, pedals, stuff which is doing distortion and gain, and yeah, that's a lot to cover. I'm still going to kind of fly through each and every one of them just to give you an idea on what's happening. We are going to start with the cryptic boost, which is kind of a clean boost where you can shift a little bit the frequencies, sometimes to something which is a little bit more extreme. I will lower the output volume a little bit of the guitars so that I'm not getting into clipping territory here. So you already can hear that we can easily get into that territory where everything is breaking apart and totally flubbing out. If I go back with the tone, I'm allowing all of the low frequencies to also be slamming the amplifier, and then it becomes basically, for me personally, unbearable. It kind of sounds like an octaver, even though it's not octaving anything from what I can tell. So very, very wacky effect going on over there. I like to keep the level somewhere around a little bit above noon because this thing is set at unity gain at 5.0. So I can actually take gain out of the signal level hitting the amplifier. So check this out. So I do like to have a little bit of a boost, but then being very moderate in the gain levels and the tone section. Next up is the Grim 3 Overdrive, which is basically a Tube Screamer variant with a lot of different functionalities. Let's try to cover as much as possible. Let's disable the Crypt Boost. I definitely like to have a lot of bite in there, a little bit less gain, maybe some more highs. Lows is also okay, but let's tighten that up. Yeah, and then leaving the rest as it is sounds really good. Let's dial back the gain a bit and then use the Crypt Boost. That's where the plugin gets its raunchiness from the Crypt Boost over here, definitely. Okay, let's move on to the fuzz. I was really impressed with this one. This has mass, blend, and op amp abuse. So mass, I would assume maybe lower frequencies. That sounds nasty in a good way. Yeah, that's pretty wild. It sounds in a good way absolutely filthy and disgusting, but it's not exactly my cup of tea when it comes to gain structure, so I cannot really play that good with that stuff. So let's move over to this pedal, the Crucifixion, which I still have a hard time wrapping my head around, to be very honest with you. I tried a little bit out, but I don't really hear what it does, you know, kind of pointing my finger on it. I do believe that this is kind of like an HM2 style thing. I mean, it is there, but I will probably never use it, to be honest with you. So The Grim 3 and the Crip Boost are my pet peeves. That's the stuff which I like about this plugin. So let's check that out again. We got to set up the gain of the amplifier back. Nice. Let's move over to the cabinet section. The cabinet section is quite extensive, so let's go quickly through that one. We got 2 different sides where we can set up 4 different cabinets, or we can choose out of 4 different cabinets, and then respectively choose from 4 different microphone combinations over here. I'm just gonna go to the left side over here and just flicker through the different cabinets so that you're kind of getting an impression on what they sound like. Now, I have to say that either Cab 2 or Cab 3 are my favorite ones. For this being the more treblier side, I'm going with Cab 3 and then flickering through the different mic setups. So there's that. I do like the SM57 the most, and here you can set up different positions, different angles, so you can do the Friedman setup. What's also a small detail is going up to 55 degrees, which is the original Fretman angle, and then you got the distance, which you can set up there as well. All right, let's go ahead and put that back into the respective position. Now let's blend that with the second cabinet over here, which we got on the right side. In case you don't want to use those cabinets over here, you can click on this and then you can load in your own impulse responses. So that's absolutely possible. You have also this Air knob and Speaker X. Let's talk about that. So Air just gives you a little bit more sizzle, more top end sparkle, I would say, but I'm not a huge fan of this kind of effect. It kind of overpronounces the top end, and this is anyways a very top end aggressive type of plugin, so I think that the Air here is not really needed for me personally. What I do like a lot is the Speaker X. That's supposed to give you a little bit more lively feel. We all heard those buzzwords, like a real cab in the room and stuff like that, and this is exactly what this is supposed to be. Now, this is a little bit too much, but it does work very well. So if you dial that back to 0.7 or something, then that really gives you a nice grit and girth in the low end and the lower mids especially. You can hear how the cabinet section is a little bit on the flatter side of things when I'm turning that on or off. So that's really cool that we have this option. This is something which I especially would use when I'm just playing through the plugin and not, like in the context of a mix over there, but also in a mix, this can add that last bit of depth which you need in your guitar sound. Let's move over to the EQ section. At first glance, the EQ section is looking boring as hell, but it gets more interesting. So first, let's activate that via double click. By default, it's turned off. Not sure why that is. And by double clicking on this plane over here, you are adding one of the points, which you can then set up EQ-wise to your likings. There's a lot of different types of EQ points. So what I like to do is I like to set up a low cut very often. And what is cool about this is that you can change the slope of that low cut. So you can set it a little bit more aggressive so that it's cutting off that frequency point more like narrow, or you can kind of even that out a little bit. So what I like to do is on the low end have a very aggressive slope, and then setting the frequency quite under that frequency range which I want to kind of cut off. And this plugin I do tend to go a little bit lower than for others, because this does not have that much of a, let's say, smooshy, a woolly low end, for lack of better terms. So this is what I would go with. It's very subtle, just cleaning up the frequencies a little bit in that regard. And then, oh, hang on. There, my point is gone. Let's reactivate that. Okay. And then normally I would do the same on the high frequencies as well. But there I would set up a very much more smoother slope, and then set the frequency not at 9 kilohertz or something, but instead at 6 kilohertz or something like that. Let's see what that sounds like. I personally think on this plugin, I'm losing too much of the edge of the plugin when I'm going with that EQ setting. So I like that there, because it's a main characteristic of this plugin that it's super aggressive in the top end. So that's part of the character of this. And then, yeah, you can add a lot of different points over here and just do whatever you desire. So I can now cut out a few mids. Now the thing is, do you really need an EQ in your guitar plugin? I personally would say I don't necessarily need it, but it's awesome that we have that integrated, because together with the MIDI map, you can use this plugin easily in a live situation and also dial in the frequency response to your liking so that it fits in the venue which you are playing. So this makes this just more complete, and this is way better than the graphical slider things which we have on a lot of different other plugins. So with that out of the way, let's move over to the post-amp pedal section. The post-amp pedal section of FLESHROT is really cool because it has a lot of different things which kind of makes this a complete bundle. It has a chorus, a tremolo, a delay, and a reverb, and each and every one of them is sounding really good. Let's walk through them one by one, although we're not going to cover every possible kind of tonal option over here, but we're kind of setting them up so that they sound all good. Starting with the chorus over here. At first, not really a lot going on because we have to substantially crank up the mix and then also the depth. I'd like to keep the rate a little bit lower. Now, of course, this plugin is not really meant to kind of cover those type of tones, but my example just showed you can, and it sounds really good, like that somewhere in time-ish vibe going on. Really sounds awesome. Let me play a little bit around with the feedback. Yeah, so a lot of cool stuff which you can do. It's getting a little bit overboarding with this one, but this is cool that you can actually make some more traditional chorus sounds, and then you can crank them up and you can go really crazy on this one. Let's go ahead with the tremolo. Really cool. I can easily see that you might want to set up like a swirly thing going on with the rate set very low. And then you could use maybe a media automation with a foot switch where you can set up the rate higher. And then you smash in the song or something. That would be like a cool intro going on. There's a lot of creative stuff which you can do with this one. I like it a lot that we have all of these controls. Let's go over to the delay. Okay, so here I would definitely go ahead and set the filter a little bit higher so that we get a little bit more of that top end. That's a little bit too much. Let's dial that back down. Set the feedback a little bit lower. And then dialing in the time a little bit quicker. There we go. So that's a nice delay. You can hear that there's a little bit of kind of like a tape shifting going on, which is pretty cool. I think this is what speed and depth are there for, so that you have that tape modulation going on. Nice stuff. Let's combine that, or let's first check out the reverb on its own. Interesting thing, the reverb has a level, and that actually dampens your output level. A lot of stuff which you can do with that one. I kind of went into that cliche black metal stuff. I cannot play that stuff, so sorry that it sounds so predictable and, you know, like generic. Yeah, but really cool stuff. I can easily imagine using the reverb and delay for some nice tasty lead tones. Maybe set down the mix a little bit lower. Before we wrap up this video, let's check out one feature, which is the transpose feature, and then, you know, just generically talk about ease of life improvements. So the transpose feature, together with the MIDI map, mono stereo, a good tuner, all of that stuff belongs to ease of use improvements in my book. And that's where AuroraDSP made a really good job over here. They have a well, you know, like sorted out user interface. They have some cool features. And yeah, as I said before, the transpose feature, which does work fine. Nothing to complain about, nothing to write home about as well, I must say. Tracking works absolutely fine. I do not really recognize any kind of delay going on. It does sound good. Nothing to complain. Let's wrap up this video with my final thoughts and conclusion on the FLESHROT plugin suite. Now, I think that AuroraDSP and ThisHeavyEarth effects have done something really cool over here and giving you that classic death metal tone, that classic Ampeg death metal tone in plugin format. And I think that for people who are into this kind of music, this is the perfect plugin. It is very easy to use. It has still a lot of features, which makes this a really fun plugin and also allows you to go a little bit outbound of that death metal range. And it's overall a really well-made software. I do believe that this plugin is a perfect companion for people who are more into the higher gain territory, more into the extreme metal stuff, but also people from other genres who are, you know, like maybe just playing classic heavy metal can definitely dial in tones in here, which are going to make them a lot of fun. The effects are really good on this one. Everything else is not necessarily catered towards that death metal type thing, so you can have your fun with that, surely. There's going to be a link down below in the description where you can find all the product information. Go to the website from AuroraDSP where you can find this one. The current pricing is $90, I believe, and it's going to be raised to a regular price of $140 after the introductory phase, which usually takes a few weeks. And I think that's absolutely fair for this plugin, given that this is made in collaboration with one of the big players out there. So ThisHeavyEarth is not a nobody, and this really sounds great and on par on whatever you are finding in the industry nowadays. On this occasion, I want to thank once again AuroraDSP and ThisHeavyEarth for sponsoring this video. I want to thank everybody of you who's tuning in to these videos. Thank you so much. Hope to see you in the next video. Until then, keep it metal.